The air is warm and wet. Not the kind of wet that makes you want to dance in the rain. No, this is the sticky, heavy kind that clings to your skin like a second shirt. Mosquitoes drift lazily through the reeds. Frogs trill in the shadows. And somewhere upriver, something very large just splashed. Probably not friendly, but for the little clan huddled near the river's edge, this is paradise. They've just finished roasting fish over the fire, their third night in this particular spot. The flames crackle beside smooth river stones, and the smoke keeps most of the bugs at bay, emphasis on most. One child is swatting his arm like he's trying to conduct a prehistoric orchestra. Their shelter? A rough half-circle of woven reeds and branches, braced by driftwood and mud. It's not Fort Knox, but it keeps the rain out and lets in just enough breeze to avoid stewing in their own sweat. A small boy tosses a fish bone toward the water, misses, and shrugs. His mother flicks him a look that says, "Try again and see what happens." Parenting, it turns out, didn't start with language. This is riverside life. Food, water, warmth, and just enough danger to keep it interesting. So before you enjoy the story, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it for you right now? Now, turn up the volume, and together let's begin today's journey of exploration. By the light of the fire, they watch the river. It's not just entertainment, it's strategy. Water means fish. It means fresh drinking supplies. It means animals, both predators and prey, come here to drink, and those habits are easy to track. In other words, it's like setting up camp beside a supermarket, a spa, and the town square all in one. Historically accurate fact: many prehistoric settlements were built near rivers not only because of access to water and food, but also because rivers provided natural pathways for migration and communication between groups. And yet, this is not without risk. As the children doze beside their parents, the night carries the sounds of unseen things. Eyes glitter in the distance. A crocodile lurks near the opposite bank, tail barely disturbing the water. Earlier that day, one of the women spotted jaguar prints in the mud. The message was clear: this isn't your backyard. You're just renting it. Still, there are rewards. The next morning, the clan rises with the sun. One of the older boys strips bark from a tree and weaves it into a simple net. He drags it through a shallow pool. Success. 2 flapping fish, fat and shocked. Not gourmet, but breakfast. The elders gather herbs and edible roots from the riverbank. One woman picks a strange reddish flower, chews a petal, and spits it out, grimacing. She shrugs. Still not food. A light joke passes between 2 of the hunters. One gestures toward the flower and mimics swooning, collapsing into a dramatic fake death. Everyone laughs, even the children. The tension from the night before softens. For now, the river is generous. But the real prize isn't food. It's connection. As the sun climbs, another group approaches from the north. Strangers at first, but then there's a bark of recognition. Cousins. Friends from a season ago. The river didn't just feed people, it led them back to one another. Strange detail. Some anthropologists believe rivers helped prehistoric people establish complex social networks. Camps set along shared water routes allowed seasonal reunions, mate exchanges, and the swapping of knowledge. Everything from toolmaking to myth. By noon, the camp has doubled in size. More fires, more laughter, more noise. The crocodile sulks away. The people trade stories, not in language exactly, but with mimed hunts and exaggerated gestures. Someone acts out being chased by a boar and faceplants dramatically. Applause all around. As the day fades, they cook together. One elder uses hot stones to boil a root mash in a hide pouch. Another crushes fish bones to sprinkle on roasted greens for flavor. Culinary innovation? Maybe not. But nobody's starving. They sit by the fire as the stars blink into view, reflecting in the river like a second sky. One woman plucks a rhythm on a hollowed gourd. A man hums. A baby giggles at nothing. And for a moment, it feels almost modern, like a family barbecue minus the Bluetooth speaker and mosquito spray. Still, no one forgets the river's double edge, because tomorrow it could rise too fast, too strong. Could sweep away their shelters, their firestones, even their memories. For now, though, it is still, and they are full. The wind howls through the cave mouth like it's trying to tell a story no one asked to hear. Not a scream, exactly. More like the deep groan of the earth stretching its ancient bones. Inside, it's cold. Not, open the window, it's chilly cold. More like, hug a dead bear for warmth cold. Which, incidentally, one person is doing right now. Welcome to the cave camp. It smells like damp rock, smoke, and a little bit of armpit. The walls are uneven, slick with mineral deposits and old soot stains. A small fire crackles near the back, tucked beside a flat stone that someone long ago decided was the designated hot rock for cooking meat, drying grass, and occasionally, sitting on dramatically during storytelling. Nobody's getting eaten tonight. That's the main selling point here. Sure, the cave is dark, musty, and echoes so much that every cough sounds like a demon waking up, but no big cats are sneaking in without someone noticing. And that alone makes the cave a luxury apartment by Ice Age standards. A woman stokes the fire with a twisted branch. Nearby, two toddlers play with a handful of bones, completely unaware those bones were once part of something that wanted to eat them. Cave living isn't just shelter, it's strategy. While the river clans gamble with floods and prowlers, the cave dwellers make a different trade-off. Less freedom for more safety. Think of it like choosing between a tent at the beach and a bunker in the mountains. Historically accurate fact: many prehistoric groups used caves not only for shelter but as seasonal or ritual spaces. Caves offered temperature stability, protection from predators, and, when fire was involved, a way to dry food and create smoke that discouraged insects and small animals. But here's the catch: caves also come with problems, like cave bears. Now, let's be clear. Most bears want to be left alone. But prehistoric Ursus spilius? They weren't small and they weren't shy. Some could weigh over 1,000 kilograms and stand taller than a pro basketball hoop. Imagine settling into your new studio apartment only to find a grizzly subletting the back bedroom. That's why every group entering a cave has a rule. Check the shadows first. Strange detail. In several sites across Europe and Asia, archaeologists have found deep scratch marks on cave walls that may have been left by hibernating cave bears, or, possibly, by early humans creating territorial marks to warn off animals or rival clans. In either case, everyone was literally leaving messages on the walls. This cave has been claimed. There's charcoal art, lines and shapes. Nothing fancy, but enough to say we were here. And please don't pee here again. The firelight flickers across those walls now as the humans settle in. One man sharpens a stone tool by dragging it across a flint block, his hand steady, his eyes on the entrance. Two others sort dried berries and insect husks into woven pouches. They're preparing, always preparing. Outside, the wind rises. A distant roar, lion or thunder. Hard to say. No one moves. They trust the cave. One of the elders tells a story, if you can call it that. It's mostly pantomime, with some throat noises and the occasional spit for emphasis. He reenacts the day someone tried to scare off a saber-tooth by waving a burning stick and fell into a puddle instead. A crowd pleaser. Laughter fills the chamber, bouncing off the stone. For a place carved from silence, it holds sound well. And in this laughter, there's a pattern, rhythm, even a shared understanding. Cave life has started to produce its own rituals. One family sleeps against the back wall, always in the same spot. Another lines their space with smooth stones. Someone arranges food offerings near a hollow crack in the wall. Not because they expect something in return, but because it feels right. They're not just living here, they're embedding meaning into the stone. One woman paints. With crushed charcoal and ochre, she makes simple shapes. Hands, animals, spirals. She dips her fingers in ash, presses them to the wall, then steps back like she's signed her name. Nobody knows what it means yet, but it feels like it means something. Cave living has a strange effect on time. Days blur. Light comes and goes, but inside, the glow of fire is the real clock. People eat when food is ready. Sleep when the stories end. Wake when a baby screams or something howls too close to the entrance. They rely on each other. More than riverside clans, these cave people have to coordinate who tends the fire, who watches the entrance, who guards the dried meat. They're like a prehistoric sitcom. Different personalities forced into the same space, managing awkward tensions with exaggerated shrugs and the occasional thrown stick. They've learned to cooperate not because they want to, but because the stone demands it. And that cooperation, that becomes culture. One girl mimics her mother, arranging bones by size. A boy draws in the dirt, trying to replicate the cave wall spirals. An older man rubs clay into his hair and howls like a wolf, possibly for fun, possibly to scare his sister. Either way, it gets a laugh. Sure, the river offers freedom, food, and a view. But the cave gives something else. Continuity, a place to return to leave marks in, to remember. As the fire dies down, the cave holds the heat. Outside, frost forms on leaves. But inside, the people are wrapped in fur and stories and memory. And far from the rushing rivers and jagged teeth of the wild, they sleep with the stone itself watching over them. The sun rises red, smeared like ash across the horizon. The river is quiet, suspiciously quiet. A few birds chirp from the trees, then go silent. A breeze kicks up dust across the riverbank, ruffling leaves that shouldn't be moving yet. And then, in the distance, a low hum. Not a sound exactly, more like a warning your bones can feel before your ears do. Something's coming. The clan by the river stirs, stretching, scratching, yawning. Someone starts rebuilding the fire, piling on driftwood. Another checks the fish traps. Everything seems fine until the first branch floats by. Just a stick, but it's spinning fast, too fast. Moments later, a tangle of reeds. Then a dead bird, twisted like laundry in a current. And then thunder, not from the sky, from the ground. The river is rising, fast. First, no one moves. Humans don't like to believe disasters are real until their toes are wet. But this time, the water isn't creeping. It's charging. Within minutes, the clear edge of the river froths brown and thick, swallowing stones, logs, and the base of their shelters. Then the shouting begins. Someone yells for the tools. Someone else grabs a toddler under one arm and the dried meat bundle in the other. Chaos. The half-hut collapses into the water like a soggy basket. A child screams. The fire hisses and dies. One man trips in the mud, goes down hard, and just as he tries to stand, a log clips him in the shoulder. He's up again in seconds, dazed, bleeding, but still holding a flint blade. They run. Not far, just up the embankment, maybe 30, 40 paces. But that's the difference between being soaked and being gone. By the time they're safe, the river has swallowed their camp. The calm, generous waters of yesterday are now a thundering beast, dragging everything it touches downstream. Even the good gourd, the really good gourd with the curved lip, is gone. One person makes a joke about the fish finally winning. Nobody laughs. Strange detail. Some rivers in prehistoric Africa and Eurasia were prone to sudden flash flooding during seasonal rains. Archaeological layers in multiple sites show rapid sediment deposits covering tools, bones, and even hearths, suggesting entire camps were swept away in single events. And just like that, the clan learns a new rule. Never get too comfortable with water. As the river roars below, they regroup, assess damage, count heads. Miraculously, no one's missing. A few bruises, a gashed arm, one child still sobbing into a muddy fur wrap. The oldest woman, the one who lost a brother to a river many seasons ago, gives a sharp command. She draws a line in the dirt with a stick, gesturing, "Never camp below this." No one argues. A new kind of wisdom has formed, not the kind you boast about, but the kind that scars into memory. And it changes them. The riverside life was built on a dream: water, food, flow. But now it comes with a bitter aftertaste. They scout higher ground, not as pretty. No fish, no shade trees or soft mud, but safer, drier, more predictable. They build again, this time with rocks instead of reeds, fire closer to hand, shelters angled uphill. The camp is smaller, quieter. The children still play, but the adults, they're always watching the horizon now, listening for that hum. Historically accurate fact: over time, some prehistoric communities began building their camps on terraces above rivers to avoid flooding, sacrificing convenience for long-term survival. This strategic thinking shows early humans learning from past environmental trauma and adjusting group behavior accordingly. One day, a group of visitors approaches from downriver. They look tired, wet. Another camp swept away, same storm. They exchange meat for dry furs, salt for shelter. The story spreads. The river moved. It's more than an event now, it's folklore. That night, they sit around the new fire on higher ground. No view of the water, but no fear either. Someone reenacts the log crash, arms flailing, fake screaming. People laugh this time, not because it's funny, but because it's safe now. Laughter, it turns out, is the best flood insurance. One child draws wavy lines in the dirt, rivers, maybe. Another draws a circle high above them. Here it says, "This is home now." And so the old lessons get baked into new rituals. They start every camp with a test. How far is the river? How high are we? Where can we run? These aren't just survival questions anymore. They're culture, their memory encoded in practice. Later that season, they return to the old site, just to see. The reeds are twisted, flattened. Bones scatter the mud. Someone finds the good gourd, cracked, but salvageable. One man touches a tree trunk scarred by the flood. Then he scratches a mark beside it. Not a drawing, not art, just a notch. But it says everything. Here, it happened. Strange detail. Some archaeologists have found shallow carvings or cut marks on trees and rocks near ancient floodplains that suggest prehistoric people may have been marking danger zones. Simple systems for tracking natural events long before formal writing existed. The clan doesn't camp there again, but they do return each season, just for a day, to remember, to teach the young, to say, "This was once ours, and it tried to take us." And that's the price of the riverside life. Abundance, beauty, and risk, woven together like the current itself. Up on higher ground, they sleep more lightly, but they sleep with dry feet, and sometimes that's enough. It's been 12 days since anyone from the cave camp saw direct sunlight. Not that anyone's counting, but when your internal clock is tied to flickering firelight and the occasional beam of morning glow slipping through the cave mouth like a shy visitor, you start to notice. The fire's burning low, fed mostly by dried dung and broken bits of earlier fires. The woodpile is shrinking, and the nearest trees are half a day's trek away. Someone mutters about risking the hike tomorrow. Someone else mutters louder that the last time they did that, they came back chased by something with claws and an attitude problem. So for now, they stay inside. Cave living, once a refuge from storms and saber-tooths, is beginning to feel like a tomb. A toddler sobs because he dropped his favorite chewed bone in the ashes. His mother hands him a new one. It's not the same. Somewhere nearby, an older man coughs for the third time that hour. The air is thick, heavy with smoke and stories that no one wants to tell right now. This is the price of safety. When you live in a place with one entrance and zero windows, things build up. Smoke, smells, tension. The outside world might be dangerous, but inside can become stifling. Still, the cave offers what no open camp can: predictability. Historically accurate fact. Studies of prehistoric cave sites show long-term occupation in some locations, sometimes for generations. The consistent temperature, protection from the elements, an enclosed environment allowed for a certain kind of stability, even if that stability came at a cost. The fire pops suddenly, and a small coal lands near someone's foot. A grunt, a stomp, and the danger is gone. But that little spark says what no one else wants to say out loud. We can't stay here forever. Food is getting scarce. The stored meat is dry and brittle. The berries, once colorful, are now grayish and sad. Even the insects, previously considered bonus protein, have found somewhere else to be. And then there's the smell. Not to be too dramatic, but it's like a badger and a moldy yak had a baby, and that baby grew up in a gym sock. The fire helps, but not enough. You can only sprinkle so much crushed herb on a pile of mammal funk. One man, tall and twitchy, decides to leave. Just for a bit. Just to breathe. He steps out cautiously. It's quiet, eerily so. No birds, no rustle of grass. Just the hum of wind dragging cold air through the canyon. He walks a short distance from the cave, crouches and breathes. Really breathes. Fresh air. Nature's reboot button. He finds a patch of minty-smelling leaves and rubs them on his face, grinning. Then he hears it, footsteps, too soft to be a cat, too fast to be a deer. He spins, heart pounding, and sees a teenage girl from the neighboring family group. She holds out a small bundle, roots, berries, some kind of dried mushroom. An offering. He accepts it, bows awkwardly, and they both grin like they just got away with something. Because in this land of stone and silence, sharing is rebellion. Strange detail. In some prehistoric regions, cave-dwelling groups appear to have engaged in quiet trade with nearby open-air camps. Evidence of outside plant materials and distant stone types in cave sites suggests brief, low-contact exchanges, think Amazon Prime, but with more risk of being eaten. Back in the cave, the man returns with the bundle. There's excitement, something new. They mash the roots, boil the mushrooms in a hide pouch, and add some crushed charcoal for flavor. It's not delicious, but it's different. And different is morale. Someone suggests leaving for a few days, taking the fire and going out to the old clearing by the boulders. A few others nod, but the eldest woman frowns. She gestures to the cave walls, to the drawings, the marks, the signs. This cave isn't just shelter anymore. It's memory. This is where her daughter was born, where her brother was buried, where the stone still carries the soot from the fire they made during that thunderstorm 3 seasons ago. And that's the thing about cave life. It teaches you to attach meaning to places, not because they're perfect, but because they held you when you were weakest. Still, the younger ones feel restless. They mimic the old stories of the river camps, exaggerating the fish size, the fruit flavors, the smell of wet grass. One girl puts a shell to her ear and hums a river sound. Everyone laughs, and even in the laughter, there's an ache, because cave life has limits. They've adapted to the dark, to the stillness. But humans weren't made to sit forever. Even prehistoric sitcoms need a change of scene eventually. And so a plan begins. 3 will go. They'll scout the old river trail, check for predator tracks, and see if the path is dry enough. If it is, the whole group might move just for a while. A seasonal migration, not because they hate the cave, but because they remember that risk is part of living. Strange detail. Some ancient groups practiced semi-nomadic movement between caves and open sites depending on the season. They had preferred homes, but also fallback shelters, depending on food availability, climate, and safety. That night, before the scouts leave, the group sits together in a tight circle. The elder woman paints a spiral on the wall with ash. The children trace their hands beside it. One man sings, more humming than words, and for the first time in days, the smoke doesn't feel quite so heavy. The cave hasn't failed them, but it's time to move again. Time to trade echo for openness, dark for danger, and memory for momentum. The sun splits the horizon like a ripe fruit, warm and gold, spilling light across the valley floor. 2 children race downhill, bare feet thudding on packed earth, breathless with joy as they reach a shallow stream. It's not the mighty river their ancestors fled, but it trickles, it glimmers, and it sings. That's enough. The camp is smaller than it once was. Just a half-circle of huts built from reeds, bark, and the usual creative layering of whatever didn't bite us today. The cave dwellers have joined the river folk, at least for this season. Some still sleep with their backs to a wall, fire always close, but others sprawl under the stars like they were born to be sky-facing. It's not a merger, it's a test, because both groups have learned something that will shape humans for thousands of years. Where you live changes who you become. The riverside people still favor openness, sun, space, movement. They like knowing what's coming from a distance, even if it's a lion. The cave people still prefer shelter, routine, and walls that don't blow away in a storm. They don't mind shadows. They trust them, but both have had to compromise. Together, they've built something different. There's a central fire, not tucked in stone or beside water, but in a shared open space. Nearby, someone hangs smoked meat on a rack strung between 2 saplings. A child carries water uphill in a bark bowl, arms trembling with effort but glowing with pride. No one's keeping score anymore, or at least not out loud. One woman, a cave elder, sits beside a younger man who used to live near the flooded riverbend. She's watching him carve a tool from antler. He uses her flint. She offers him advice. They grunt in a rhythm that might be language, might be annoyance, or might just be prehistoric mentorship. Either way, they're doing something radical, combining experience. Historically accurate fact: As prehistoric communities grew and environmental pressures increased, many groups began developing shared seasonal settlements where different clans would meet to trade, intermarry, and pass on survival knowledge. These early mixed camps laid the groundwork for social structures far more complex than simple family bands. This new camp doesn't choose between river or cave. It borrows from both. They build shelters on higher ground, away from the floodplain, but with clear lines of sight like the riverside clans preferred. They stockpile food inside a rock overhang, not quite a cave, but protected. The fire isn't hidden anymore. It burns openly, like a beacon. They even develop a kind of shared ritual. Every fifth day, they gather before dusk, and someone tells a story. Not just a tale of a hunt or flood or bear scare, but a comparison. A child draws two spirals in the dirt, one wide and flat, one tight and deep. River, he says, pointing to the wide one. Cave, he says, pointing to the other. Then he connects them with a line. Everyone claps. That's how it starts. The idea that you don't have to pick one life or the other. You can braid the best of both. Strange detail. In several archaeological sites, cave art and open-air rock shelters contain overlapping styles and pigments, suggesting that artists from different regions, and likely different camp types, shared tools, symbols, or even art schools of sorts. Cultural fusion was already in motion. The children now sleep in groups, some curled under woven mats, others tucked against rocks. One sleeps with a clay toy, half fish, half bear. An accidental metaphor, or maybe a genius origin myth in progress. The older ones watch the sky. Clouds are coming. Time to pack? Maybe. Or maybe just tighten the shelters, move the fire uphill. They're not scared of movement anymore. Because movement doesn't mean weakness now, it means choice. As the wind picks up, a woman kneels to reinforce the roof of a hut. A man ties down the meat rack. One of the elders hums something, a rhythm carried from deep inside the cave. Another adds a beat with two river stones, clicking together like an ancient metronome. In this moment you can feel it, the convergence. River and cave, open and closed, risk and refuge. They've learned that the place you choose to sleep, hunt, laugh, and grieve isn't just about where you are. It's about who you are trying to become. And that changes everything. In a few generations, their descendants will build bigger camps. Some near rivers, some tucked into stone. Some seasonal, some permanent. But every one of them will remember these lessons. Rivers feed, but they flood. Caves shelter, but they trap. Life demands both courage and caution. And survival, in the end, is about balance. The fire crackles. The stories are told. And somewhere in the dark, a predator watches. It waits, calculates, but it does not strike. Because down there, beside the firelight and laughter, humans have chosen their ground. And for the first time in the ancient war between hunger and hope, they are not just surviving. They are building something that lasts.